Hello, this is RLC321 back again with the Tyrant Sword Resin Start to Finish build. Now, what I wanted to talk about first of all, move these out of the way, is cleaning your resin parts. Because once we've sanded everything down as best we can, we need to clean our resin parts. There's a few ways you can actually do that. You can actually go, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of the word now. Use just warm water with soapy liquid, let it sit in there overnight, all the parts sit in there, and then get a toothbrush and just gently rub over all the parts, dipping in the water and cleaning off that way. What I actually used a jewelry cleaner, you know, those things that vibrate really fast and it cleans all the stuff. I use that with some water, a little bit of alcohol, isopropylene alcohol, a little bit of window cleaning fluid, and normal washing up liquid, and it's come up really nice. There's no mold release left on here. So always make sure you wash your resin parts, because if you don't, you are not going to be able to paint properly. The mold release is going to stay on here, so when you start painting and then you're handling the parts, it's going to start moving. Oops. Now, another thing, gloves. These kind of things, or whatever you can get. Once you've washed your parts, it's best to always wear some gloves, because you don't want to get your oily residue of your fingers all over your nice newly cleaned parts. So always put some gloves on to help protect your parts. So I'm going to just put that to the side. What I'm going to talk about now, we're going to talk about pinning these parts to make them fit. Now sometimes if you look in here, this has got a pre-drilled hole, and where the parts are going to fit, no, it's not that bit, where is it? Here it is, here. Here is where this is going to go into. So now in theory, those two holes should line up once you put it into place like that, because it's already been pre-drilled, which is going to help us a lot today. And just so you just get a, see if I can get a closer look in here, you'll be able to see the pre-drilled holes there. Okay, maybe you can't see the pre-drilled holes. Come on, there we go, now you can. So sometimes you're going to get a kit that hasn't got any pre-drilled holes. So before we go any further, what some of the tools you'll need is obviously mini drill bits. Okay, you're going to need those. Okay, where's it gone? Just bear with me. Obviously we're going to need our wire clippers there, and I just need to find, oh, there it is, my pin vise. Get that up there. And a pin vise to hold the mini drills in. Now that's not all, because what I want to talk about next is the different things you can use. You could either go to the local hobby stores and get these brass rods. Now these ones are 1.5mm, which I'm gonna be using for the bigger parts. Is gonna hold a lot of the weight. So like on the feet, the ankles, the body, the shoulder joints, the arms, things like that, is gonna use these. For the smaller parts, I bought these really tiny, thin wire, which is 0.5mm, which is going to be good for things like the head and holding all the little parts in there, because you don't need a lot of this. It's just to give it a little bit of extra, what's the word I'm looking for? Something a bit extra to help hold it into place. Okay. And also what you're going to need, I had everything out a minute ago. Honestly, I did. Where's it gone? it's just disappeared on me. No, stay there. Hang on 1 second. It's got to be around here. Must have dropped it. Hang on 1 minute. That's because that's where did oh, it's all the way over there. Right, just bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to go get the other part we need. Okay, right, I'm back. And the other thing we're going to need is super glue gel. Now you can use epoxy, the two-part epoxy glues if you want to, but I just prefer to use this because when we're doing these, putting these in, we only need a small bit to hold these into place. And then obviously once we finish painting and everything, the final glue everything into place, we're going to be using not a lot. You only need a small amount. You don't need a lot, especially with this gel. So they're the tools that we are going to need. Let's move everything else out of the way here. Okay. Right, now, let's say this didn't come with any pre-drilled holes. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get my 1.5 mil. So I've got 2 and got 1.5. So this should be the 1.5. And what's always good is before you even use it, get our blast tube out and just check, make sure. If you can see there, you can hardly see the drill, so that's the correct size drill bit we need. And then we just put it in to our there we go, into our pin vise. Now let's say this didn't have a hole, but we need to make a hole in it. So you would roughly try and find a center and just drill. You don't have to put a lot of pressure, just let the drill do all the work and try and keep it as straight as it possibly can. And just keep turning it around as well, because then that gives you a rough idea of how straight you actually are, because you want these as straight as possible. And as you can see, I'm hardly doing anything to here, hardly putting any effort into it. So then place our part in there, see how much it goes in, and that should be fine. And there we go, so that's fine. So we've got a hole in there, but let's say this part didn't have a hole, so it didn't have a pre-drilled hole. We've got that there. What we are going to do is, once I find out where I'll put it, oh there it is, we are going to get a little piece of blue tack. We don't need a lot, just a little bit. Need the blue tack a little bit. Place the blue tack just there. Then dry fit the part together. Give it a little bit of a push, and as you can see right there, in theory that should be where our hole is going to be, because that's where it matches up to the part. So then we will get our drill bit, place it in the middle of the, there we go, and we just drill the hole. Now if I just come out of there, it's actually directly in where the original hole was in the first place. So if you don't have any pre-drilled holes, that's the easiest and best method to do it. And it's always good to use a nice new sharp drill bit, because then it goes through the resin a lot easier. So we've got that bit there. Now let's see how big that is in there. Might need a little bit more, because that's hardly gone in at all. So if I bring that out there, I don't know, it might be okay. Let's have a, let me just quickly mark it. And by marking it, what I'm doing, I'm just holding the clippers on it and just give it a twirl around, actually that should be okay. Because it's a hill part, that should be fine. So I'm going to continue drilling holes for all the bits that we need. Right, there we go. That should be fine there. And then this part is going to be going into here, like so. So I'm going to need to make sure I've got this in the correct position. So drill a hole into there. And just making sure we're keeping it fairly straight. Right, so now hopefully that will match and marry up just like there. Right, so let's start cutting this wire off, shall we? Now we know roughly how deep these are going to be, so that's about there, and then I'm going to need a... Because instead of this, by the way, instead of these brass tubes, you can actually use a paper clip as well, if you wanted to. Obviously, I didn't want to use a paper clip, so let's pull that out. And let's bring it down just about here. That should be plenty. So hold it at the bottom and at the top, and just give a very quick... Oh, Jesus, that didn't want to cut. Very quick cut. Now, put that down. Now we get a super glue. And what we're going to do is just in the hole here in this part. Yeah, just in there. I'm just going to put a small tiny dab just in there, just a small bit, because it doesn't need a lot. I'm going to grab hold of the brass tube and just push that. Oh no, no, no! Come on, push it in there. And push it down so it goes in. Now then, there you go, and that should, there you go. Now that's in there. Now there's going to be I've put a little bit of excess glue in there by mistake, so I'm just going to try and get some of that off, because I don't want all of that glue in there. There we go. Now, so once that's dried off, I will then be able to test and see, and hopefully this should fit in that hole. And it's not, so I need to angle it up a little bit. So let's try there. No, it needs to go angle up a bit more. Okay, now let's try that. Come on, why ain't you going in? Okay. Now let's try putting that in that hole there and then pushing it together, see what it goes like. There we go. There. Now, there we go. Now that's the right way, and that will now be in the correct position for it to fit in. So we've got one in there, which is good, and we're going to now need to see if we can get this one to fit. So let's make sure that goes into there. And I'm just gonna mark a little line. There we go. I think I might need to sharpen my cutters a little bit. There we go. Now let's have a quick test. That should fit in there, just like that, and then hopefully that way and that way this should line up and just, oh, that's perfect, look at that, just right there, and that fits in there like that. So now what I need to do is pull it back out. I actually want this part to be in the foot. What might be the best way to do this actually is put, like instead like I've done before, just put a little bit of glue actually on here. That might be the best way. Okay, and then we just put that in there. There we go. Actually, that's the better way to do it, because in that way I've not got excess glue, too much excess glue around the edges there. So that is pretty much how we're going to pin our parts. And once we pin all the parts, we can then do test fits to make sure everything fits and works and how it's going to look. Because then afterwards what we can then do is just, there we go, look. There's bottom half of the leg done. Then we can obviously go through what needs changing if we need to. We'll get in there, that's it. Now, obviously they need to dry. The reason I'm doing it this way is, like, once we go to paint it as well, this part is now, my alligator clip can now clip onto that bit there. The alligator clip can now clip onto that. I'm going to put another one up in the top here, so the alligator clip can clip onto there. Okay, because then what's going to happen, this here will fit inside there, just like that. And then the alligator clip will be able to hold on to that part. The alligator clip on here could just hold on to these, because these are going obviously into here, like so. And what this pinning does, it gives it extra stability as well, so it's not going to move, because obviously a resin kit is going to be static, so it's not going to move or anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much how we pin a resin model kit. It's fairly easy to do, so don't be scared of doing it. And as I said, you can use paper clips if you want to. You can use these brass rods from the shop. I mean, this pack of 4 cost me £5.25 from my local hobby store that I go to. Something else I did want to talk about before we go any further. Where is it? I've lost it now. Hang on. There's something I wanted to show you. No, it's not that one. I think it's part of the arms. Yeah, here we go. It's part of the arms. Like here. When I was actually cutting off the gate, because this was so very thin, can you see how thin that is there? Because it was so thin, it has actually broken off some of the part. Not too much of a problem, because what we're going to do in another video when we get to it, I'm going to show you how to use some modelling clay and build that piece up to make it look flush and flat to go with the whole thing. And this happened on both of the arms, by the way. Where is it? Is it that bit? No, it's not that bit. Where is it? Oh, yes. Is that it? Yep, that's it. There. And you can see what has happened to those. So we're gonna fix that. I'm gonna show you how to do that as well using a epoxy modelling clay. Epoxy modelling clay. Okay. So anyway, that's the end of this part of the tutorial. I'm going to continue pinning all of this together, and then once we've pinned it all together, we should be able to have a good idea of what this model kit is going to look like. Okay, so this is RLC321 saying goodbye, and I will see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye bye.